Hi everyone, Howie here. Friday, February 21st, 2025, and I'm trying to taste. I'm trying to taste the sauce today, and it's a tough one. It's bitter. There's a bitter taste today, right? Our Lord says, "Taste and see." Come, right? Come and see, right? Taste and see. Taste and see. So it's. I'm tasting the. I'm tasting the. I'm not tasting the news. I'm tasting life. I'm tasting circumstances and facts and eternal truths. And I do these things and I put the notes aside. I try to still get into the stillness as best I can. I put it into the chalice for the Lord to take and give back. And then I try to like really, really, really let go and breathe a little bit and then see what is it from what we've been seeing the last few days. What is it that rises up and we need to run our hands through the sand. And what shells do we gather that are really worth looking at? Evil. That's the word that's on my mind. Evil. I think watching what we saw in Israel the last couple of days, starting with the exchange of the hostages, right? And then as this goes on, and I'm not talking about the nitty gritty of the details, and again, fly high, because you gotta go up on the mountaintop and then peer down. And as the negotiations happen and living hostages are exchanged, and then we get to when we're going to exchange bodies, right? And then we hear about of course, the family, the husband, the wife, and the two little boys. And the husband's released, and we know the wife and two children are dead. And the thought that there has to be a negotiation for bodies, that we need to step back. What is the body? And what is it to the person who's deceased? What is it to the family? We're spiritual beings, right? So why the body? Because the body matters. They're fighting over land. Well, our land, the land of our soul, is our body. Our bodies matter. Matter. Think of the word matter. They have matter. They're substantial. I mean, in certain religions, Catholicism, Orthodox Christianity, the relic, the physical item of a holy person, or an item from Jesus, or used in his passion. Items can be charged spiritually. They're not. It's not hocus pocus stuff, but it's the idea that the item being in the proximity of holiness picks up on that degree. So it's not magic. It's more of in a sense, a testimony. It's when you are in the kitchen with your grandmother who's cooking, and your clothes take on that odor, that aroma of the sauce, and then you go elsewhere and you move, and the aroma is still with you. Your grandmother is still with you. I remember years ago, I was a man at this point, and I did something quickly. It was the end of a long day, and I smelt myself. I smelt myself after a long day. The man smell, a man smell of I'm perspiring. And the smell of the end of the day. That's what I would call it. The end of the day, man working smell, right? Brought me back to the kitchen. Grew up in the 70s in New York, Long Island. And it brought me back to being in my kitchen, my three brothers, the four boys, and my mother's cooking, and my father's sitting at the head of the table. He just came home from work. And he's in a T-shirt, because he always wore a button-down shirt, or a T-shirt underneath it. And sometimes if he was really hungry, he'd come home and take off that shirt and sit in the T-shirt. And he smoked cigarettes. And I remember him smoking a cigarette. He's at the table, We're not eating yet, but we're about to, I guess. And I'm small, maybe, I don't know what age, 3 or 4 years old, something, small. And I remember leaning against his side, so I'm against his side and like underneath his arm. And I remember the smell of my father, the smell of him working all day and coming home, and it's him. And when I moved my arm later as an adult, and it brought me the relationship between that aroma, whether we associate it with a good smell or a bad smell, transported me back to being at my father's side. So the exchange of bodies is really substantial here. And what struck me is like, do we really have to, excuse me a second, let me just move this over here. Let me do this here. It's bothering me. Do we really have to negotiate to receive the bodies of a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old? I don't know. I know it's so much to be bothered by, but it's the idea of negotiating for that. It just disturbs me. And then what happens? Of course, then if you've been watching the news, right? They have this ritual, if you will, of handing over the bodies to the Red Cross, and as they're in Gaza and as the Hamas is the people are celebrating. The Palestinians, I don't know what else you call them. Palestinians are celebrating. Candy and music, and there's a banner up there, a big giant banner of Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister Israel, depicted as Dracula. Fangs, blood dripping from his fangs, and he's in front of him is the mother and the 2 children, the 2 boys. That in other words, he's the Dracula. He has killed them. He has sucked the blood from them. It was a celebration. They were celebrating the death of a mother and 2 young boys. And of course, the story unfolds, right? They get the bodies. The Israelis examine them. And what do they discover? That, first and foremost, that it's not the mother. It's the body of a Palestinian woman who's been blown up, died in some kind of explosion or bombing. Why? Because that's Hamas's side, that they took them hostage and they were killed. The babies, the mother, were killed by Israeli bombs. Well, if that's the case, when they deliver the bodies, I guess we're going to find that out. Well, I guess they tried. It's hard to. I guess it's more difficult to trick you with the 1-year-old and the 4-year-old. So they have the actual 1-year-old and 4-year-old in their caskets, their respective caskets, if you will. But the mother is not the mother. It's the body of someone else who died. So they're trying to, as if they're not going to know that, and they weren't going to do DNA test. But it's as if, by providing a body of a woman who's dead from a bomb is going to trick everyone, and that no. And we know why. I wrote this on X today. We know why they're not handing the body of the mother over. First of all, because she probably wasn't killed in an air bombing. And you're going to see that. And second, we may not know for certain what's happened to her, but we know these people. Yeah, was she raped? They would know. If they received the body, they will know. It's disturbing, right? And so there's no body. What's interesting too? What about the body they did send? Who is it? Who is the person? Who's the woman they put in the casket to pretend to be the mother of the 2 boys? Who is she? Does she matter? That's part of this that's just left. Who is that soul? Who is it? Who's that woman they put into the casket and said, it just doesn't matter? That's telling you something. It's evil. It's evil. And you know it when you see it. It's evil. What's going on there is evil. And of course, the news continues to break. And the boys were not killed by an air raid, a bomb. The boys were not shot. The boys were killed with bare hands. We don't know if that was, I saw one report using the word choke, and then I've seen beaten. So, and I saw one report that somebody who read the detailed, I don't think the one, they released some statements to the public, but the detailed, I guess, autopsy, if you will, was really hard to read. I don't know what happened to these boys, but they said bare hands. And apparently it was bad. It was gruesome. So it sounds like they were maybe beaten and choked. I don't know. As a father, it rips my. I'm not gonna lie to you. It gets me freaking angry, man. It gets me angry. Any child. I went to get a late breakfast, and not too many tables over, there's a young child, about that age. I don't know, toddler, boy, and you can't help to think, like, what is going on here, man? What is going on here? They're children, and you're gonna kidnap them and murder them with your bare hands. So evil. We're looking at evil here, and of course, there's the other side, and the Israelis are killing babies and doing. Look, man, I don't know what to say. It doesn't mean that, of course, their lives are any less valuable. No, but you can't look at this, and you can't. Israel defending themselves from Hamas and blowing things up, and there's damage that of course occurs, and civilians are killed, and part of those civilians are children. We know that from war. We know that. And there's no excusing it. There's no sugarcoating it. But going into a home and kidnapping a mother and two children, and I guess they I think they said maybe like 10 days after they were abducted. They were abducted on up to October 7th, the night of, and killed about 10 days later. So they've been dead a long time. I'm sorry, man. There's just no comparison. Okay? And how do you, that's what I wrote about this morning, how do you see eye to eye with these people? To negotiate, to have dialogue, you have to look at them. You have to look at somebody, right? I talk about dialogue is, two simple things have to take place for dialogue to occur. You need to, one party needs to speak, and the other party needs to sincerely listen. And then they switch places, and the other party sincerely speaks, and the first party speaks, and the first party sincerely listens. So speaking, sincerely listening, speaking, sincerely listening. Nothing else is required. We don't need to change minds. You don't need to convince. If nothing happens, it doesn't mean dialogue didn't take place. All that's required is speaking and sincere listening. And often things will change, because when you sincerely listen, you usually aren't 100% right or 100% locked. We think we're 100% right or 100% locked in, but many times we're not. I mean, almost always we're not 100 and 100. So maybe you change your listening. But I guess there's a prerequisite for dialogue, the sincere listening and the speaking is that you need to be together, looking at each other, eye to eye. And how are you eye to eye with people that are kidnapping babies and killing them? You're not. It's tempting to say they're not human. I can't say that, though. And I can't say their lives don't matter. I can't say that. And I can't say that God didn't create them, because God did. And I can't say they're not children of God, because they are children of God. God has created them. And I can't say they don't have dignity from God. They do have dignity from God. What they do with their lives and their dignity, that's another question, just like anybody. But if that choice is so consistent and so vile, and the human uses their free will to basically walk on their hands and speak out of their anus, that doesn't change humanity. Humanity stands on its feet and talks out of its mouth from the heart. So if you walk on your hands and speak out of your anus, you can't speak to that person. They're upside down. It's evil. It's inverted humanity. It's humanity on its head. It's humanity peering into hell instead of looking up to the heavens. It's inverted. They're not participating in sharing in humanity. Still children of God, still products of God, still have the dignity of God inside them, but through free will or just perversion are no longer participating. We need to actively participate in humanity. And people who are serial killers or vile murderers, they choose not to participate in society. They choose to violate the sacred nature of humanity. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that that's what's happening. There is a violation of humanity. There's an inversion. What do you do? I mean, what's interesting too is Trump has been quiet. Today, before I came on, I think I heard he said, he's fine with whatever Israel does. I mean, to me, that sounds like he's fine with just do what you got to do at this point. I mean, I think you have to say, I don't know. Let me propose something. What if you said we're going to blow this area up, get out, and then you blow that area up, and if people are in that area and killed, well, that was their choice to stay. But I think if you tell them and you give them enough time to say you got to get out, and then you blow that area up, then it's on them for staying. And you continue to do that until the whole place is leveled. And like Trump said, then you take over that and you clear it out, and they get a new home somewhere. Go find them a new home. Right? Fine. But they can't go back to Gaza. It has to be clear, because if they're living in Gaza, this is going to continue. So I am no expert on this issue. It's not something I follow extremely closely. And it's not that close. But I had, for whatever reason, I'm sucked into this now. And evil. It's evil. All right. So let's pray on that. Let's stay up high. Realize that we're living through a dark period, and I do think we got to watch our language with, when you see things online, kill them, destroy them, wipe them out, annihilate them. I get the emotional response. But I do think, and you say, well, what's the difference, Howie, what you're saying? Instead of just saying wipe them out, you're saying that they're not participating in humanity, therefore even if the end result is the same in the sense of your military decision, I do think it's important to always acknowledge they're children of God. And what I mean by children of God, that God has made them. God has made every human being that exists in the world, ever has, is, or will, is made by God. So that doesn't change. And I think you have to acknowledge that. And there's an innate, unalienable, if you will, dignity to that humanity. And you say, well, what's the difference of just denying that or saying they perverted it? Well, because it's not the same. Because in theory, the perverted could change, could get out of that area before it's bombed, and could have a redeeming moment, and could be transformed by the Holy Spirit. And, just to say they're not human, that's a lie. To say they don't matter, that's a lie. To say who cares, that's just unethical. We have to care. It's a shame. It's a sadness that they'd have to be just wiped out. So I do think that posture is important, even if the military decision is the same. But the people of Israel need peace, where justice and peace kiss, right? The Psalms, right? All right. Second, let's talk about Ukraine. I think we see what's happening there. Okay, so Rubio, interesting today, he interview said that he and Vance spoke to Zelensky, and there was a discussion about minerals, and that paraphrasing, but that basically the United States wants in on this, and it's not to take advantage of the minerals in the resources, the elements in Ukraine, but that look, we're giving you billions of dollars. We'd like to be part of this. That's part of our commitment to making a deal. And that apparently, from Rubio's standpoint, and Vance, because they were both involved in this meeting, that Zelensky was like, "Oh yeah, okay, that's fine with me. I gotta run it through the legislature and parliament, whatever they have there." And but then goes out on media after the meeting and basically says, "No way," So Rubio is clear to point out that basically Zelensky's lying or speaking out of both sides of his face, and you're seeing the table set. And the way Trump called him a dictator, and of course everybody's all over that. He's not a dictator, and Trump and that Zelensky started the war. Don't you know Trump by this point? Trump is overcorrecting. That's what he's doing. Zelensky has been made into this hero, and Ukraine is 100%. Russia is 100% wrong, and Zelensky is a hero. And what Trump is doing is he's saying that Zelensky's not a perfect person, and there's criticism. And Russia, even if you think they're wrong for invading, and they have invaded, there is an argument from the other side of the NATO situation that antagonized them. And even if you reject it, what Trump is doing is he's cracking the egg, because you got to crack this. There's an egg, a very fragile egg, but that everybody's worshiping. That Russia 100% wrong, Zelensky God, perfect hero. No, so he's overcorrecting, and then they're going to come back and say, look, Zelensky there's things that there's issues with his leadership, and Russia on their side, they have their own argument, and there are things that have occurred through the Biden administration, actually. A report coming out today that early on in the war, that the Biden administration understood, like, okay, NATO's not going to enter, Ukraine's not going to enter NATO. And that's really what Russia wanted. But the U.S. wouldn't say it publicly. Why? Okay, so bird's eye view is Trump is cracking the egg. He's pushing that so that we get out of this narrative, Russia 100% bad, Zelensky a hero. Crack that. Okay? Talk to Russia. Europe, in the meantime, the EU is talking about as a whole, France about spending more money on their military. And that's what makes Trump a good leader. You see, at first, it's Trump he's breaking arrangement. No. He's correcting the situation. First of all, it's in Europe's best interest. It's in France's best interest to have a stronger military. It just is. Second, it's actually strengthening the relationship between the EU and the United States, or France and the United States, because if you have an alliance, the alliance is only as good as the ability of both sides in the alliance to hold up their end of the bargain. And if your military you don't have the military to hold up your end, well, then it's not an alliance. It's us doing it and you being there, like pretending you're part of it in a sense. Well, now, if they have a stronger military, it's good for them, and it's good for the alliance. The alliance becomes substantial and real, and that's healthier. So this is good. So that's what's happening in Europe. We see with Germany, there was another stabbing just happened right now before I come on. All right, because we had the person run the vehicle into pedestrians last week and kill a mother and a toddler in Germany. We had the Syrian asylum seeker in Austria stab the 5 people, kill the 14-year-old. And today, apparently in Germany, there's another. Okay, and you have the alternative for Germany, AfD, Deutschland. That party's growing, and this idea of shutting the border. So okay, that we have that, and what else happens now? Poland, the president of Poland, announces today. This was X is amazing. That okay, I spoke to Zelensky on the phone. And basically, he's, I'm going to paraphrase. He said it in nice, polite ways. He's like, go read his tweet. But basically, the president of Poland, in my language, would say he told Zelensky to knock it off. You got to work with the U.S. Again, I'm translating it into my language, the real deal New York Street developer language. The president of Poland said, this is your only chance. This is the only person you can't do anything without the United States. So stop the games, stop the PR stunts, stop saying one thing in meetings and another outside of meetings. Stop with the military attire, put on a suit and tie, listen to Trump, show respect, deference to what they say. If you want to ask or have concerns, voice them politely and then say yes, because that's it's going to happen that way. Or you're going to push Trump away and alienate him, and that's not going to end well. So that's the situation with Ukraine. Rubio and Vance meeting with Zelensky has shined the light on Zelensky. Now they know it. Trump is saying, look, Trump is not even dealing with him. He's focused here. And he sent his good Rubio, Hegseth, right? Okay, and Vance. So he's got guys that deal with this. Meanwhile, Vance is just on fire. Musk is chopping away. So this is it's overall it's really good. But the thing in Israel has really sucked the life force out of me a little bit. I think we need to pray a lot and really, really be delicate. But I do think it's an opportunity. This is it. This is the time to clear out Gaza and do what Trump said 2 weeks ago, which is basically take the land. Not going to own it, not going to buy it, but we'll run it because they can't be there. All right? So we pray for the souls, eternal rest of those 2 boys and the mother and the heart. Pray for the heart of the father who's still alive on this earth. And we ask that God bless them. And we ask that God, in his miraculous power, just transform everybody involved. And just everybody just miraculously puts down their weapons and just hugs. Is that going to happen? Let's not doubt God. Impossible for man, not impossible for God. So let's not forget that. Okay, this is my flyover, and so I'll talk to you soon. And please send comments and subscribe, like, and follow all that stuff. Okay, you take care. Bye.